African American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans.
So I posted that clip on my social media last week. And when I did, I had the comment, when we say American, who do we mean? I suppose we could also ask, who's the we in that sentence? I was a little surprised, though, at the flood of comments that weren't about what I anticipated the conversation would be about, which is about what a common pattern of speech it is that he used. Instead, there was a lot of just vilifying Mitch McConnell, and I'm certainly not here to defend Mitch McConnell or what he said. It's just, I think, that there was a lost opportunity to examine what is a really common pattern of speech in which we white people often will refer to an individual or a group, just, a woman, a man, this guy, these people, these parents. When we don't give a racial identifier, we don't say these black parents, this, Asian American guy. The assumption is, the default is that the people or person we're speaking about are white. That's how much whiteness is normalized. And so when Mitch McConnell says, Americans voted this way, African Americans that way, what he is falling into is that very pattern where he's not naming white Americans, he's just calling them Americans. And he's kind of making African Americans like this little caboose, this little side population. And in doing that, first of all, the implication is African Americans aren't American, and they're decentered. And by decentering them linguistically, it's really a deep reflection of what's going on inside most of us who've absorbed the deep racial ideology that not all people are equal in the United States, and that white people are the norm, the best. That's that all-American, and everybody else is some kind of a distance, a difference, an abnormal from that white norm. When we, and I am referring to white people here, when we white people do one of those kind of gotcha, you're the racist, and smear, cancel culture, somebody who has said something that's racist, I think we miss a really deep opportunity to dig a little deeper and ask, where did that come from? Is there any chance there's a reflection of what I just saw over there in me? Because I can tell you what I observed in Mitch McConnell is such a common pattern of speech in the United States. I see it in myself. I have done it. I have done it recently, and I'm a committed, lifelong anti-racist. I'll go out, be out in the world, grocery shopping, driving, and I'll come home and I'll say something to my husband like, oh, I stopped and I helped, this woman who was beside the road with a flat tire, helped her fix her tire. I guarantee you, if that were, I don't say she's a white woman, if it had been a black woman, an Asian woman, indigenous woman, Latinx woman, any kind of racial identity other than white, I would have named it. Even though it has nothing to do with the story, it is just an ingrained pattern of speech. And I think it's really important to notice it and to understand why it's important. So really interestingly, there was a great example of this happening just a couple weeks ago on TV. It happened between Chuck Todd and Nikole Hannah-Jones, and I want to show you the clip. See if you notice what he says that falls into the pattern of speech I'm describing, and also notice how Nikole Hannah-Jones doesn't do a gotcha. She, I think, very gently reflects back for him and asks him to see if he can notice his own pattern of speech.
Parents are saying, hey, don't make my kid feel guilty. And I know a parent of color is going, what are you talking about? Teach reality. When do you do it and how do you do it?
Well, I think you should just think a little bit about your framing. You said parents, and then you said parents of color.
Did you hear it?
Parents are saying, hey, don't make my kid feel guilty. And I know a parent of color is going, what are you talking about?
And the same thing is true for Mitch McConnell. You know, when he says Americans and African Americans, he's centering white Americans, which he doesn't say, who not only are centered linguistically, but whose needs and desires are the loudest, the most listened to, the most believed, the most respected. And so white people get an outsized say, and are certainly getting an outsized say in what's happening in around voting issues right now. That's the problem, is that the centering, elevating of one group of people and the marginalizing, the othering of people who've historically been targeted, marginalized, discriminated against, otherized, is being reproduced linguistically, which connects to our deeper belief system. And what we're trying to do, people like me, anti-racists, are trying to do, is bring awareness to our deepest beliefs, which shows up in our language and all kinds of behavioral and language patterns. If you can start to change the language, it forces you to reckon a little bit with what's down deep. That's why I think this matters. That's why I think this is an opportunity.